All right, get ready, because today we're diving deep, really deep into endocannabinoid synthesis.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be a fun one.
We're talking about those molecules that act like, I don't know, maybe air traffic controllers in our bodies,
Yeah, keeping everything running smoothly.
keeping everything running smoothly.
So important.
So we're talking about stuff our bodies just make naturally, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Not the cannabinoids you'd find in, like, cannabis.
Right, so we're focusing on endocannabinoids, the body's own versions.
Okay.
And to really understand how they work, we need to look at how they're made.
Okay, so, like, where does this production take place?
Yeah.
What are the raw materials?
Exactly what kicks off that whole process. All good questions.
Yeah.
We're going to answer them all.
Awesome.
Yeah.
First, stop the location. Is there like a designated endocannabinoid factory in the body?
That's a great question.
Or is it more distributed?
It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all situation.
Wow.
It's more like pop-up workshops, you know? Different endocannabinoids are produced in different parts of the cell, depending on what they need to do.
Okay.
So you've got the cell membrane, that outer boundary,
Right.
and then the cytosol, the inner space of the cell.
So different locations for different endocannabinoids.
Exactly.
Why is that?
So location really dictates function.
Okay.
Take anandamide.
Okay.
It's one of the key endocannabinoids.
Oh.
It's synthesized in the cell membrane,
Okay.
which is actually brilliant when you think about it,
Okay.
because it's right there, ready to interact with receptors that are also embedded in the membrane.
Okay.
So it allows for very fast, localized signaling.
Oh, so it's all about efficiency.
Exactly.
Getting the message where it needs to go quickly.
Right.
Makes sense. So let's talk ingredients then.
Okay.
What are these endocannabinoids actually made of?
So the stars of the show are lipids,
Okay.
and in particular, those that contain a fatty acid called arachidonic acid.
Arachidonic acid. Isn't that involved in inflammation?
You got it.
So wait, what I eat could actually impact my endocannabinoid production.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Your diet directly influences those building blocks.
Wow.
A diet rich in omega-6 fatty acids, which the body converts to arachidonic acid,
Okay.
can actually increase the production of certain endocannabinoids.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this is like really applicable to people's lives.
Yeah.
But we need more than just ingredients, right?
We do?
We need like a skilled workforce to actually put everything together.
We need the enzymes.
Okay, the enzymes.
These specialized proteins are like master chefs, you know?
Oh.
They
Yeah.
take those lipid precursors
Uh-huh.
and transform them into endocannabinoids.
So they're not just randomly mixing things together.
Yep.
It's like a very specific orchestrated process.
It's a very precise, orchestrated process. You got it.
Wow. And so each endocannabinoid has its own like dedicated team of enzymes.
They do, yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So for anandamide, we've got NAPLD.
NAPLD.
Yeah, or N-acyl phosphatidylethanolamine, phospholipase D.
Wow.
It's a mouthful, I know.
That's a long one.
I know.
Yeah.
But this enzyme is responsible for cleaving a specific bond in a molecule called NAPE.
Okay.
And that releases anandamide.
Okay.
And then for 2-AG, another key endocannabinoid,
Yeah.
we've got diacylglycerol lipase, or DAGL, running the show.
So this is very complex.
Yeah.
Very specific.
It is?
Okay, so my question is this production line constantly churning?
Ooh, good question.
Or is there something that like kicks it into gear?
Yeah, it's not constant production.
Right.
It's more of an on-demand system.
Gotcha.
So an endocannabinoid synthesis,
Uh-huh.
it's triggered by specific signals or stimuli.
Like a call to action.
Exactly.
Okay, so what kind of signals?
So think neuronal activity, inflammation,
Okay.
or even the body's response to stress.
Wow, okay.
And what's really interesting is that your experiences, both physical and emotional, can directly influence your endocannabinoid production.
So like if I'm stressed, my body might be churning out more endocannabinoids.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And that increase can then affect how your body handles that stress,
Okay.
influencing things like mood, pain perception, even your appetite.
This is incredible.
It is.
Okay, so we've gone from the where to the what.
Yeah.
Now we're at the why.
Well-
Can we like break down the actual synthesis process a little more?
Sure.
Like paint me a picture of how this unfolds.
Okay, so imagine this.
Okay.
A signal, like a surge of neuronal activity, sets things in motion.
Okay.
This activates specific enzymes,
Okay.
like NAPLD,
Yeah.
and it gets to work, transforming those lipids like a sculptor with a block of marble.
Okay, and boom, an andamide.
Exactly.
Okay, and then what? It's got a job to do, right?
Okay.
Like it doesn't just float around aimlessly.
Nope, they're purpose-driven. They bind to specific receptors,
Mm-hmm.
the most well-known being CB1 and CB2.
Okay.
And these receptors, you find them all throughout your body,
Wow.
in the brain, immune cells, organs.
It's mind-boggling.
It is.
So the location of the receptors is key to all these different effects, right?
It is, yeah.
It's like a communication network.
Exactly.
With messages being delivered to different departments.
Exactly.
And the signaling itself, how does that work?
So when the endocannabinoid binds to the receptor,
Yeah.
it triggers this cascade of events inside the cell.
Like a chain reaction?
Exactly, like a chain reaction.
Wow.
Ultimately influencing how that cell behaves.
Okay, hold on. Can we slow down for a second?
Sure.
I'm trying to visualize this. So give me a specific example.
All right, so let's say anandamide binds to a CB1 receptor on a neuron.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Okay, so this binding can actually decrease the release of neurotransmitters,
Okay.
those chemicals that neurons use to communicate.
So it's like turning down the volume on the chatter.
Exactly.
Wow, so endocannabinoids can actually influence how our brains communicate.
They absolutely can.
That's amazing.
And here's where it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
They can engage in something called retrograde signaling.
Retrograde signaling.
Yeah, meaning they can travel backwards across synapses, the tiny gaps between neurons, to modulate neurotransmitter release.
So it's like sending feedback from the receiver
Back to the sender.
back to the sender.
You got it?
Wow, that's incredible.
Well, it's a pretty cool system.
So it's like our bodies have their own internal messaging system
Yeah.
with like feedback loops and controls.
It's incredible, right?
That's amazing. Okay, so if these endocannabinoids are so powerful, how are they regulated?
Right.
They can't just keep signaling forever, right?
You're absolutely right. They have a limited lifespan.
Okay.
So once they've delivered their message,
Yeah.
they're broken down by specific enzymes.
Okay.
So it's like a built-in off switch.
So they don't overstay their welcome.
It's like a recycling system,
Gotcha.
keeping things tidy and preventing overstimulation.
So it's this delicate dance between synthesis,
Yes.
signaling, and destruction.
Yes.
Okay.
All choreographed to keep our bodies functioning optimally.
Wow. This is fascinating.
It is a really fascinating system.
Yeah. And we'll dive into that destruction phase a little bit later.
I'm sure.
But I think that's a good place to stop for now.
Sounds good.
And we'll pick up
Yeah, we'll pick it up next
with
week.
the destruction next time.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we've built these endocannabinoids.
We have.
Now what?
Right.
They don't just like float around aimlessly, do they?
No, they get a job to do.
Tell me about your mission, their purpose.
So that job is signaling.
Okay.
Think of them as messengers.
Okay.
Carrying instructions to different parts of the body. And their destination is receptors.
Okay. Receptors?
Those specialized docking stations on the surface of cells.
So like a key fitting into a lock.
That's a great analogy.
Huh.
Different keys unlock different doors.
Right.
Different endocannabinoids bind to different receptors,
Gotcha.
triggering all sorts of different effects throughout the body.
Okay. Can we talk about the most famous receptors then?
Sure.
CB1 and CB2?
Yeah,
I feel like I've heard those mentioned before.
absolutely. Those are the two main players.
Okay.
And their location in the body really highlights the endocannabinoids' influence.
Okay, so let's start with CB1 then.
Okay.
Where are those receptors primarily located?
So CB1 receptors, you find them highly concentrated in the brain,
Okay.
especially in areas involved in mood, memory, cognition, motor control, and pain perception.
So that explains why cannabinoids like THC, which also bind to CB1 receptors, have such strong effects.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
okay.
THC from cannabis,
Yeah.
it binds to those CB1 receptors in the brain, mimicking the actions of endocannabinoids, but with a much stronger signal.
Oh, so it's like a guest using a house key,
Yeah,
but maybe staying a little too long.
maybe making a bit of a mess.
Okay, making a mess.
It's mimicking the actions, but often in a much more amplified and prolonged way,
Okay,
which leads to those psychoactive effects we associate with cannabis.
that makes sense. Okay, so what about CB2 receptors?
So CB2 receptors
Yeah.
are primarily found in cells of the immune system.
Oh.
They play a crucial role in regulating immune responses and inflammation.
So could we target CB2 receptors then to like manage pain and inflammation?
Potentially,
Okay.
and without the mind-altering effects. That's the hope.
Wow, okay.
That's a very active area of research.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, scientists are developing drugs that specifically target CB2, hoping to harness their therapeutic potential without those psychoactive side effects.
This is fascinating.
It's a pretty amazing system.
Yeah, it seems like the endocannabinoid system is involved in like Everything.
It really is a master regulator.
Wow. Okay, but before we get too ahead of ourselves,
Sure.
I want to go back to the signaling process for a sec. Can we break down what actually happens at the molecular level
Of course.
when an endocannabinoid binds to its receptor?
All right, so let's take anandamide again.
Okay.
Binding to a CB1 receptor on a neuron.
Okay, I'm picturing it. What happens next?
So this binding causes a change in the receptor, like
Yeah.
a little nudge, a shift in its shape.
Okay.
And this activates a protein inside the cell called a G protein.
The G protein, what does that do?
So G proteins are like molecular messengers,
Okay,
relaying the signal from the receptor to other molecules within the cell.
so they're setting off a chain reaction.
Exactly, initiating this cascade of biochemical events.
So it's like a domino effect.
Exactly.
One event triggering the next,
Uh-huh.
leading to all these changes.
Yeah, changes in enzyme activity, the opening or closing of ion channels, even alterations in gene expression.
So a small molecule like anandamide can have a big impact.
Absolutely, it's all about amplification.
Wow.
That initial binding
Yeah.
sets off a chain reaction, influencing countless downstream processes.
And this is all happening constantly in our bodies.
It is, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's incredible how much is going on behind the scenes.
So we talked about how endocannabinoids don't signal forever.
Right.
What happens to them after they've done their job?
Right. So to prevent overstimulation, they're rapidly broken down
Okay.
by enzyme.
By enzymes.
It's like a built-in off switch
Yeah.
to make sure the signal doesn't last too long.
Gotcha. Can you give me some examples of those enzymes?
Well, you already know the stars of the show.
Okay.
FAAH and MAGL.
Right. FAAH for anandamide and MAGL for 2-AG.
You got it.
It's like our bodies have their own cleanup crews.
Exactly. They each have a specific role to play.
Wow.
And the efficiency of these enzymes is incredibly important.
Okay.
The balance between the synthesis and degradation of endocannabinoids.
Yeah.
That determines the overall endocannabinoid tone.
Okay.
And that tone has far-reaching effects.
So it's not just about how much is produced. It's about how quickly it's broken down.
Precisely.
It's a delicate balance.
It is a very delicate balancing act.
Wow. So this regulation is key to preventing the endocannabinoid system from going haywire.
Exactly.
Okay, but we'll dive into the breakdown process in our next segment.
We will.
Stay tuned, because understanding how endocannabinoids are degraded,
Yeah,
it's just as important as understanding how they're created
Yeah.
and how they signal.
absolutely. It's all interconnected.
Okay, so we've covered the creation,
Yeah.
the communication,
Uh-huh.
the synthesis, and the signaling.
Right.
But like any good story, there's a final chapter.
There is.
What happens to these endocannabinoids after they've, delivered their message?
Right. It's the inevitable conclusion to the endocannabinoid journey, destruction.
Destruction?
But it's not a tragic ending.
Right.
It's a necessary process,
Right.
to maintain balance and prevent overstimulation. Think about it. A factory that only produces and never dismantles its products would be a mess.
Yeah, total chaos.
Exactly.
System overload.
System overload for sure.
Okay, so same for endocannabinoids then.
Same for endocannabinoids.
Their breakdown is crucial
It is, yeah.
for keeping things running smoothly.
Right.
Signals clear, response is appropriate.
Exactly.
So we know these molecules are broken down by enzymes.
Yeah.
But can we get into the nitty-gritty?
Sure.
How does this enzymatic degradation actually work?
So imagine these enzymes
Okay.
as highly specialized molecular scissors.
Okay, molecular scissors.
Yeah, they target specific bonds within the endocannabinoid,
Uh-huh.
snip them in a very precise way,
Okay.
rendering that molecule inactive.
So it's like deactivating a key
Yeah.
by breaking it in half.
Exactly.
Okay. And I bet you're going to tell me that FAAH and MAGL are the stars of this show.
FAAH breaks down anandamide.
Uh-huh.
MGL takes care of 2-AG.
So we've got dedicated enzymes
Dedicated enzymes for each one.
for each of these endocannabinoids.
It's amazing how our bodies have evolved these systems.
It really speaks to the importance of precision
Yeah.
and control
Absolutely.
in this system.
It's so tightly regulated.
Yeah.
Both in terms of where it happens
Uh-huh.
and for how long.
Okay, so it's not just about how much of an endocannabinoid is produced. It's also about how quickly it's degraded.
Precisely.
That balance is what determines the endocannabinoid tone in the body.
Exactly.
And we've talked about how that tone influences so many things.
Yeah, mood, appetite, pain perception, immune response.
Pretty much everything.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
I'm curious about the location of this breakdown process.
Okay.
Does it happen in the same place where the endocannabinoids are synthesized?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
So while some degradation can occur right at the site of synthesis, endocannabinoids can also be transported to other cellular compartments for breakdown.
So it's like a waste management system.
Yeah, like a complex waste management system.
Wow, so another layer of complexity.
It is, yeah.
It seems like every step of this process is so carefully orchestrated.
It really is.
But why? Why should we care about this breakdown process?
Right.
What are the implications?
So the rate at which endocannabinoids are degraded can have a significant impact on their effects.
Okay.
So for example, let's say we found a way to inhibit FAAH activity.
Okay, so we're slowing down the breakdown of anandamide.
Exactly.
What happens then?
That would lead to a buildup of anandamide in the system, prolonging its signaling, and potentially amplifying its effects.
So if we could control the breakdown process, we could fine-tune the effects.
Potentially, yeah. It's a really exciting area of research.
Leading to new therapeutic approaches?
Exactly. That's the thinking behind the development of FAAH inhibitors as potential treatments for things like anxiety, pain, inflammation.
By manipulating the breakdown process.
Right.
We could harness the endocannabinoid system.
Exactly, in new and exciting ways.
This has been an incredible deep dive.
It has.
We've journeyed through the entire life cycle of endocannabinoids.
We have.
From their creation to their signaling to their destruction.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's amazing to think that these tiny molecules produced in our own bodies have such a huge impact on our health and well-being.
And what's truly remarkable is that we've only scratched the surface.
Really?
Oh, yeah. The endocannabinoid system is incredibly complex.
Wow.
And scientists are constantly uncovering new insights into how it works.
That's amazing.
The more we learn, the more we realize its potential.
Well, listeners, I hope this deep dive has given you a sense of awe and appreciation for your own body. You have this entire universe of endocannabinoids operating within you.
It's true.
Wow.
Modulating your experiences, influencing your health.
And the journey of discovery continues.
It does.
Keep exploring.
Stay curious.
Who knows what other secrets this fascinating system holds.
Right. So much more to learn.
Thanks for joining us on this adventure.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Into the world of endocannabinoid synthesis, signaling, and degradation.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep diving deep.